All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We have a very pivotal week ahead, and I have refrained from saying this for all the year, but this is about to be the craziest trading week of the year. We have a ton of different events, everything from Powell and inflation, but you're also going to hear from like 2 or 3 other central bankers. You got a bunch of other big U.S. follow-up data, and then you're even going to hear from China and a bunch of other things, even the refunding, a big options expiration rollovers. Oh my, Chad, I'm telling you, it's about to be wild, so we got to break down. I have a very simple one for you. We are going to be getting things every single day this week, so it will be exciting. And if you did not see what happened on Friday, I'm telling you, Pump It Up was stuck in my head all weekend, but take a look. The S&P hit the previous high of August, or right below it. We did sell off after pretty much melting up after the first hour, but for the most part, you are right under 4,300 again, but we finally had that breakout, and now this week has everything. So we have a lot to talk about. If you don't know why this week is important, everybody talking about the pause or the skip, we're going to find out, but it has also been 15 months in a row of a certain Fed policy. So if that's about to change this week, I mean, that's historical, man. So it's about to get crazy. I got the plays, all that good stuff. But what I need from you, Chad, right here, right now, today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. Here is the random account generator. I'm going to bring it to you live. You can see it. See right here. You got to interact with me. We had some good plays, but what I need from you today is to post a random option trade in the comments below on this video. Strike price, expiration date, all that good stuff. I'm getting hyped. I'm hitting the keyboard, but for real, keep it below $100. We need a good play. Y'all have bringing it. So let's go, Chad, but right off the bat now, let's get right into it. I'm telling you, it is going to be a very big week, and I've just ordered it in terms of bullet points. So I know I usually give you a crazy breakdown, and we are going to have a lot of talks this week on it as we get more information, but let's keep it very simple. One of the big things you're getting this week, the inflation report, that is going to be on Tuesday, and the big part about it, headline is expected to come down to 4.1 from 4.9. That's a very big drop on headline, but now, if you remember with core CPI, that is expected to come down to 5.2 from 5.5, and core CPI is expected to come in at the lowest point of the year. So that will be a very big deal if that happens. That is what we are going to look for, and to make this whole entire week a lot simpler is the market pricing in right now 70% odds of a rate hike or a rate pause. A rate pause, yes, 70% odds today as we're coming into this week. But what I've been saying all week, I do not think Powell and the Fed will hesitate to pivot into the data. So if this inflation report, depending on how that plays out, if it does come down as expected, then I think Powell will pause. If this comes in hot, then you will watch the Fed futures and the entire market debate this all the way up until the next day, because it's only one day later. So watch out for that. But inflation, 4.1 headline, 5.2 on core this week, depending on how inflation plays out, that will determine a lot for the Fed. That is your first big thing. Then the FOMC, we are looking for a rate hike or a rate pause. But now here's the best part about it. Don't forget that you are getting the summary of economic projections. That is the SEP. And now why this is going to be important, because this will determine how hawkish the Fed will be. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more as we move forward, but this is where the money is going to be. Not only is it about rate hike or pause, that is still going to be a very, very big deal, but now the SEP, that is going to be pretty much how Powell and the Fed signals anything to the market and tries to prevent the market from front-running the bond. So the summary of economic projections, this is where the Fed comes up with their guidance on the economy, GDP, even unemployment, and then they say this is where we believe the rates will end by the end of this year. So if that goes up, that could change a lot of things, because right now as we come into this, most economists and Fed watchers, they are expecting that the SEP is not going to change dramatically, or at the very least, the terminal rate, that is not going to change from what it was, pretty much right around 5.1 to 5.2. So watch out for that. That's number two. And now this is what I'm saying about this week getting crazy. Not only do you have FOMC, not only do you have inflation, the next day or the day of Powell, you get producer prices, then you're going to get retail sales, consumer sentiment, then Philly Fed, Empire Manufacturing, and this will be a lot of data. And now I hate to bother you, but it all depends on Powell, because depending on what we get from Powell or that data, we're going to see how hawkish or dovish the market really wants to respond. What I'm saying is that all of these data sets, it is either going to follow up and confirm what Powell said, or it'll give a lot of fuel to the flame to the market to really say, hey, Powell said this, and now this data is like this, it's even better, and then they start to go crazy. But we have a ton of data sets this week. It's in conjunction of all of that, and then you're even going to hear from China this week. And why I'm bringing this up, there's a lot of things going on around the world, and you saw it last week how China or the UK opened up. That determined a lot for us. So we're getting industrial production in China and retail sales, as well as labor data, and then the Bank of Japan as well this week. So again, if you've been watching the yen or anything of that nature, you know how important this is. But they are expected to hold their dovish policy stance, and maybe we see the yen continue to weaken. The dovish policy stance is pretty much what they've been doing since the beginning of the year, if you have been following along, but that will have a big effect. That even ties into the bond yields, and that will even heighten up some global volatility or not. But watch for any surprises, and then we are also going to get the ECB. So if you don't get what I'm showing you right now, this is all across the world, a ton of data set in the United States, a big decision on the rate hikes, and then you get inflation, and then all this stuff. You are going to have a lot of points to start responding to, and then even after this week, it's going to be a giant expiration, and then a lot of things will get cleared out. So those are your main keys in the breakdown of what we're looking for this week. But now, to give you a little bit more guidance on the Fed, what people are expecting is a hawkish pause. The Fed futures right now are pricing in that the Fed will not raise rates, but they are expecting Jerome Powell as well as now the SEP to communicate a hawkish stance so that the market doesn't get ahead of itself. Now, why I'm bringing this up to you, because depending on how hawkish or how they message this will determine how the market is going to react. Because what we are dealing with now, if they do in fact pause or the rates just do not go up, this will be the first time that has occurred in 15 months. So there's a lot behind this, and what I'm trying to say is that the only things that can really change this week, because a pause or a stop would hold so much force, it's going to be if inflation is bad and that changes the whole story, or now if this hawkish pause, if it gets signaled very hawkishly through an extremely high terminal rate going up and surprising all the economists, that will be the only thing that stops us moving forward. So the only other thing I'd watch out for is refunding news or any of the bank stocks, but we're waiting for Powell this week, and if you haven't seen where the market is, if all this stuff comes in line, inflation doesn't scare, Powell does pause, I mean, you are going to have a month or two of the market being able to do whatever it wants with pretty much nothing in its way. So I'm bringing up what could stop it, but now a lot of things are changing. If Powell blesses this rally, or if he tells everybody to have caution, it could determine a lot halfway through the year. And now it's time to bring it home. So, Chad, I hope you're ready for one of the most volatile weeks, but let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, with everything we're dealing with, I have a lot of surprising plays. Usually, I'm hitting you with these weeks, and I'm telling you, watch the bonds, watch the Zaza, the /ZQ, and I do get behind that. That is definitely going to be the play. One thing we have kept talking about here is the fact that the data has been causing the bonds to move more. Now, maybe after SEP, inflation, PPI, you have so much data this week, maybe this is the week where we start to watch equities and bonds kind of react more in line. Otherwise, I am going to have a bias towards any bond plays reacting to any data. It's very simple. If we get any surprisers, that's where we play. If not, no surprisers. This thing is going to do its melt and focus on the next big thing. But again, those next big things, I mean, a lot of those tailwinds have now started to become headwinds, especially if Powell blesses it. So that's my disclaimer with the plays. What I'm trying to tell you is always watch the bonds. But Let's start with number one, though. Besides that, IBB, Illumina, Biogen, Issei. I made a play on this one yesterday towards the end of the day. It's because on Friday, Biogen got halted. They had an FDA-like advisory panel towards one of their Alzheimer's drugs. So what we were talking about is that while Biogen was halted, you could play IBB because it's an ETF and that was still trading and they have big exposure. But now over the weekend, there's even news on Illumina. I think the CEO or CFO stepped down because of ICANN with his activist investor stuff, but these are big holdings on IBBs. Maybe people will react positively. And then ESAI, that's the one partner with Biogen, but there's just all of these biotech plays. These three are all big companies. Made a play on it. It could be kind of its own little zone this week, so going to be riding that one into Monday. We're going to be seeing, but definitely watching those biotechs. A couple of the other ones did even come back that we were holding too, but that is play number one. Then play number two now. I really like this one, and it even ties into what we're dealing with, especially depending on what happens without Powell. But even without Powell now, people are talking about emerging markets lagging. So I put Alibaba and I put EWZ, Brazil. That's often a favorite for a lot of emerging markets as of late, but people are talking about this aspect saying, well, look at the S&P, look at the developed nations. I mean, it's been 6 months. If these tailwinds do in fact turn into headwinds, again, with or without Powell, that will determine a lot. But depending on how that plays out, a lot of people are saying there is a bullish impetus for the emerging market stocks because they are just lagging everything, and maybe it's their turn to start rallying. So going to be watching this. We talked about this even last week. I'm still holding some Baba, even some Baidu. I have no plays on EWZ, but depending on what we see this week, I would love to see how those play out. And we have data from all around the world this week, so it's going to be exciting. But that is play number two. And then finally, play number three. I'm still holding this. I'm barely up on it. We played it like a week or two ago, but I like it. On Friday, Intel, they had this subtle AWS news that AWS was using one of their chips. I thought it was really good. I thought that may be able to have a hit. There was a small pop, and we've been seeing that the last couple days. There's just so much tension, and I don't think that'll get over, or we'll get over that until we deal with Powell, but watch out for that. Even watch out for some of the chip news. AI kind of cooled down since the NVIDIA earnings. It's been a couple weeks, but we'll see what happens after Powell. And then a lot of news headlines and individual company news. That could drive a lot. That's even what you saw, and that's something I put on here. Watch Netflix. If you don't remember what happened on Friday, there was like a report that they got like a bunch of subscribers, and they started going up, and there was just a lot of companies with individual news. So that will be something I will be watching coming into Monday. But besides that, no other plays. I got to roll over my NQ this week. We've talked about that. Going to do that one live on stream. Other than that, watching the bonds, some of the other plays we are in, and we are going to see, does Powell bless this rally, or do they give you your pause, but does it come into, it's going to be crazy, Chad, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And man, even in the context of the market, I need you to remember everything is measured. Everything from pain to good to bad to joy to success. Everything is measured. There is a time and place for everything. Everything revolves and is a circle, but play the time, play the place. But don't worry, good will last only for a little bit. Bad will last only for a little bit. Use that to make the best strategy you can and live your life with some peace, baby. But Chad, I love you. God bless you. Get ready for an exciting week. You better get some good sleep this weekend. But that's it. It's game time. We're ready to go. We're ready. I'm ready. I'm awkward. I don't care. It's game. That's it. Beast mode, outlet, whatever you want, Chad. And then we got 6 more months. Okay, I don't want to hurt him this time. Okay, I love you, Chad. That's it. Okay, that's it. I'm good. All right. Horn. No, I don't want to leave. Okay, Horn.